Indycar is better than F1. And no, I promise I'm not just saying that because I've had to sacrifice 2 nights of good sleep on a weekend by staying up late and waking up early to watch F1 races that have pretty much made me doze off by just watching them. But what does good even mean in this context? It means the racing being exciting to watch, as that is what racing is all about. And in this video, I'll discuss a few reasons why the racing in Indycar is better than the racing in F1, and contrasting the 2 top-level open-wheel series, and hopefully convince you of the same thing that I think, that Indycar is a superior open-wheel series to Formula 1. Now, time to get to the explanations. The current season. Over the start of the 2023 motorsport season, there has been a visible contrast between the world's top open-wheel series, F1, and Indycar. F1 has had 4 races so far at the rate of the video, and 3 of them have been snoozers. The start of the season being dominated by the Red Bulls, with Verstappen taking a comfortable, lights-to-flag victory at Bahrain, only being made exciting by the surprising pace of the Aston Martins in their overtakes, and the podium of Fernando Alonso. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix looked like it was going to be a fight for the lead between Sergio Perez and Fernando Alonso, but then the status quo returned when Verstappen took Alonso second place, and then Red Bull took another 1-2 with Perez on top and Alonso rounding out the podium. At the Australian Grand Prix, it was just exciting enough to keep me awake with all the chaos of the red flags and safety cars from its almost 11 p.m. start time at my time zone, but even through all that, the podium was pretty much the same as the previous races, with Verstappen leading a Red Bull 1-2, and then Alonso third once again. For the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, the race seemed like it was going to be exciting at the start, but then quickly became another boring, single-file affair, with Perez leading Verstappen to the 4th Red Bull 1-2 of the season, and with Leclerc rounding out the podium, although I didn't see the celebrations, as I had already dozed off due to the boringness of the race, and the 4 a.m. start time of the Grand Prix, my time zone. Now contrast the 4 races of F1 so far to the 4 races of IndyCar that have happened so far this year. For the season opener at St. Petersburg, it was an action-packed race, with the first lap marked by a monster multi-car accident which saw the car of Simon Pagenaud being launched into the air after being hit by Stingray Rob. After a 30-lap green flag stint led by pole sitter Roman Grosjean after the restart, a caution came out due to the contact between Kyle Kirkwood and Connor Daly, sending Daly into the barriers. Grosjean was led by Scott McLaughlin on the restart, but the green flag period didn't last long, as Rinus VeeKay binned it in the tire barrier, and Jack Harvey stopped just behind him to make the perfect platform for Kyle Kirkwood to ramp off of and cause the second airborne accident and the 3rd yellow flag period, not even halfway through the race. The 2 drivers who had been battling for the lead, Scott McLaughlin and Roman Grosjean, then wiped each other out on lap 78, sending Pato O'Ward and Marcus Ericsson to fight it out for the win, in which Ericsson eventually prevailed, proving exciting race and much exciting than the first race of the F1 season. For the second race at Texas Motor Speedway, there was amazing racing for the lead between Scott Dixon and Felix Rosenqvist in the first few laps, before the crash by Takuma Sato caused a yellow flag period, in which a pit lane collision between Alexander Rossi and Kyle Kirkwood took both out of the race. And for the 150 laps left of the race, there were extensive periods of green flag running, interrupted by momentary cautions caused by drivers crashing, in which the top 5 of Palau, O'Ward, Newgarden, Grosjean, and Scott Dixon spectacularly battled for the lead, in which Newgarden eventually prevailed and took the win. For the 3rd race of the season at Long Beach, Andretti driver Kyle Kirkwood survived an incident-laden race from pole to take his first ever IndyCar Series win, which saw O'Ward take out Scott Dixon, and then saw retribution being delivered by Marcus Ericsson by him punting O'Ward into the same barriers at the same corner that O'Ward bumped Dixon into. And then for the 4th round of the season at Barber Motorsports Park, there was clean battling for the lead throughout the entire race, which even saw normal back markers running well, with rookie Marcus Armstrong finishing 11th place, and Devlin G. Francesco even knocking at the top 10 for a few laps. McLaughlin eventually avenged his wipeout at St. Petersburg by Grosjean's hands by winning after overtaking Roman Grosjean in the closing stages of the race. Now, it's obvious to see which series have been better and more exciting at the start of their 2023 seasons, with IndyCar producing much more on-track action and exciting moments than Formula 1, and I will propose a few reasons for why. Tracks. Take a look at your average F1 road course. Most are boring and just your average tilgodrome, with long straights, hard braking zones, which usually produce single-file racing, with not really much to differentiate between them, and most producing boring races. There are a few that stand out, like Spa and Monza, but these provide boring races occasionally, and these are the exception, not the rule. And then look at your average Indy road course. There is elevation change, flying corners, and action waiting on every lap, and all produce very exciting races, no matter what track the series is racing at any given weekend. Now, for street circuits. F1 street circuits, many are wide and boring, with the scenery aside the track just being concrete walls, and most produce boring single-file races. And some don't even take place on streets, they take place on purpose-built tracks that you may be able to drive on for the rest of the year, if you are the type of guy that likes driving around in stadium parking lots. The only track that stands out is Monaco, due to its tight walls, narrow course, and danger looking around any corner, but its date on the calendar is under threat, and many don't even like the Monaco Grand Prix due to the boring racing produced by the wide and long cars, which F1 has been known for in the recent years. Now, look at an Indycar street circuit. They take place on actual streets and provide spectacular racing most times, and my personal favorite street track in Indycar race in general is the Music City Grand Prix, which is always a blast to watch due to the chaos and racing that takes place there, due to the fact that the cars are shorter and narrower than the F1 cars, allowing for a better experience at the narrower courses, unlike most F1 street circuits. For IndyCar's third type of tracks, the ovals, they provide extremely good racing, with the ideal IndyCar oval being wide and low-banked, with the Indy 500 and the 2 Iowa races being good examples of the amazing racing that always result from oval Indy races. Now, let's contrast with F1 ovals. Oh wait, there are none. The cars. F1 cars are separately developed by each team, which seems like a good thing, but it impacts the product on track much. The bigger teams with more money at their disposal win and get more prize money, which enables them to throw more money at the car, which causes them to win even more, causing periods of domination by one or two drivers, in which the racing always suffers due to this. Also, F1 teams are only allowed 2 cars, which means only 2 drivers from the top team will be vying for wins, and this doesn't even happen many times, with teams having one main driver's championship and having a more passive number 2 driver to make sure the team gets the Constructors' Championship. In contrast, IndyCar is a spec series, so every car is the same mechanically, which means the better drivers are up front and the worst ones are at the back. But despite this, the top teams are usually at the front due to them having more money and gain better race engineers and equipment to do this. But teams usually enter 3 to 4 cars each race, leading to more drivers from top teams fighting for wins week in and week out, and more than one top team exists, with about 15 drivers eligible for the win on any given weekend, much more than the just 2 of F1. Now, you might have noticed that I have only focused on the current year and a little bit of the last year of F1 and IndyCar, and not both series historically, and this is because I'm only focusing on the spectator experience of both series, and not the history or prestige of each series. I did this because I've been quite bored by the 2023 F1 season, and IndyCar has come to fill my craving for good open-wheel racing, and is objectively better in that respect due to the reasons that I have discussed in this video. And for these reasons, that is why I think IndyCar is the superior open-wheel series, and I hope that you do too after watching this, but if not, then comment on how you're not convinced and I might just respond. If you enjoyed the video, like it. If you like my channel, consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.